at this event, people from Amazon and Alexa made it very clear that in addition to Sports Highlight coming up, you will be able to perhaps buy sports tickets to events, buy movie tickets, arrange fantasy football teams, and I think somewhere down the road, maybe not too far down the road, given the NBA on Prime deal, they will allow sports betting on the television set through Alexa Plus.
Newswire, only on Sports Grid.
I'm done with the Buffalo Bills, and I'm not upset about it because they look vulnerable. I cannot believe this team is 4-0 because they could easily be 1-3. They go on their heels, and I can't believe they have not one but two double-digit victories in games they could have very well lost.
In-game live, only on Sports Grid.
The Americans got to find answers in these partnerships, and I think they need to look at their who's making these decisions from a stat standpoint.
Well, it's so funny to me, especially coming off of the Walker Cup just a few weeks before, how it just seems like there's this glaring chasm between American partnered match play and American individual, singles match play.
The Smiley Show, only on Sports Grid.
Mike Trout, will he ask for a trade? And maybe I'm a bit of a Neanderthal for asking this, and people are going to say, listen, he's never leaving. I refuse to accept that we're just not going to get Mike Trout postseason baseball ever again. Because clearly when healthy, he can still do it. But he's also rarely healthy and still kind of expensive. It's complicated.
Game time decisions, only on Sports Grid.
It's time to rise and grind on a Tuesday morning right here on the early line. Sports Grid Network time. Donnie Rightside along with Joe Ranieri over the next 2 hours. We have you covered on everything you need to know to set your day here. We're going to lay out the plate, lay out the fork, lay out the knife, and it's time to absolutely eat. So many things happened last night. Trevor Lawrence falling down, getting back up, scoring touchdowns. The Philadelphia Phillies get down 4-0, fight all the way back in the ninth, only to come up short. Who's going to stop those Milwaukee Brewers? I don't know. But the one thing we do know, Joe, is the boys' best bets go 2-0 last night, and we're looking to do it again today. How about that?
I love it, Donnie. Another winning evening for us there. But not everything this morning might exactly be what it seems. I'll just leave it at that.
Ooh, it's time for a little caffeinated Joe right now, which means we're taking a look at spread lines and headlines. Don't believe the hype, Joe.
Yeah, Donnie, let's talk about it, because if you're waking up this morning and you see now that the Jags 31, Chiefs 28, you're thinking, wow, the Jags are for real. And, well, maybe that Chiefs dynasty is actually crumbling. And listen, I don't blame you for that, but you would be wrong. Here's what actually happened in that game last night. See, the Kansas City Chiefs dominated the Jacksonville Jaguars pretty much up and down that field. They outgained them, Donnie. You ready by this? By over 150 yards of offense. Mahomes in that offense racked up nearly 500 yards. That's 500 yards of offense there. They averaged just about 8 yards per play to the Jags 5.5. They moved the ball at will. By all metrics, it should have been a double-digit win by the Kansas City Chiefs. So why did they lose? Well, because they might have played the single dumbest, sloppiest football game of the entire season. Maybe, Donnie, one of the worst shoot-yourself-in-the-foot games that I have seen the Chiefs play in a very, very long time. I watched Patrick Mahomes throw a pick six to a linebacker that went for 99 yards the other way. So instead of going up 2 scores and putting the Jags away, that's a 14-point swing on one play. And how about the penalties, Donnie? this for such a veteran team, they had 13 accepted penalties against them. 13, including one of the most reliable kickers over the last decade for this organization. He kicks the ball out of bounds after the go-ahead TD that literally set up the Jags' game-winning touchdown. Oh, which, by the way, included Trevor Lawrence getting stepped on, falling down not once, but twice, only to get up untouched and jump in the end zone for a 1-yard TD to win the game. Regression to the mean is real, Donnie, and here's what I mean. The Chiefs went 11-0 last season in one-score games. They're 0-3 so far this season. Now they sit at 2-3. Does that mean that they're cooked? I wouldn't bet on it. Oh, and by the way, the Jags, their 13th turnover through 5 games happened last night. How sustainable is that? And the lesson is very simple for bettors here watching this. The final score lies. Don't let the results trick you into thinking that the opinion of these two teams should be what the final score says or what the headlines are saying. The Jags are not as good as their record says they are. Are we, when we look at these teams moving forward, Donnie, are we going to be going up, Kansas City? Sorry, Kansas City, it is over. Are we going to be looking at the Jags and saying, wow, 4-1, they finally turned the corner? Just remember, no matter what the headline says, the box score, well, it doesn't always, but mostly will always tell the real story.
I'll tell you, a little bit of caffeine in that conversation means next week you're 2-3 Kansas City Chiefs. They're home, but against the Detroit Lions. Things certainly aren't getting easier here for the Super Bowl team last year that lost to the Eagles. Tough start to start this year, but Jacksonville 4-1 for the first time in a long time, which brings up our early lineup here in the focus. Is that game last night on Monday Night Football? The Jaguars 31, the Kansas City Chiefs 28, and Joe is right. You look at the yards that the Kansas City Chiefs piled up and came away with a loss on a second down play, basically on the goal line, throwing an interception that was returned the opposite way. And also, Joe, when you talked about those penalties, how about the late penalty pass interference call? That was an interception that got overturned that allowed the Kansas City Chiefs to punch one into the end zone with Trevor Lawrence. Impressive performance? Maybe not, but the Jaguars got the job done, 4-1 on the season, Joe.
Well, listen, I'd rather be lucky than good, but just remember, regression to the mean is real. Kansas City's experiencing. I don't know how you can maintain through 5 games, 13 turnovers here, Donnie, but at some point, it's going to go the other way. They got the win, but if I had a ticket on, I did not have a ticket on Kansas City minus 3.5 last night, but had I, right handicap, wrong result there, Donnie.
Yeah, exactly. I like the 3.5, but how's that game played out? I'll take it at this point. And also, the Chiefs getting a loss to go to 2-3, something to keep an eye out for here. Sometimes you're going to get injured in football games. You had a great win for the New England Patriots, Joe. But how about this? Antonio Gibson tore his right ACL down for the season, as Adam Schefter reports.
What a roller coaster of a year for this poor guy. I mean, and now it ends up where, he starts with the Jets. He fumbles a punt, and now all of a sudden he's cut. Now he's traded. He goes to New England. Everything seems to be going well, and now pretty much his season is over. It's just unfortunate. And you wonder why these guys want to get paid when they can get paid, Donnie, right? Yep. Classic example right here.
Jim Harbaugh loves to run the football. Here's the only problem. Who else is left to run the football out there for the Chargers? As Omarion Hampton goes on IR with an ankle injury. He's subject to come back, but times are tough. A horribly banged up offensive line. Nobody in the backfield. Hello, Mr. Herbert. You got to carry this team.
I mean, Donnie, is it me? I mean, maybe this is every year, but I mean, how many more teams are going to be through 5 weeks devastated by injuries like we're seeing right now? The Ravens, the Chargers, the 40. I mean, the list goes on here, Donnie. I mean, every week it seems a handful of teams are just piling up important players on the IL. It's crazy.
It is crazy to start the season. You know what's crazy? Having a job to do, getting all liquored up, walking the streets of Indianapolis and fighting a guy just trying to feed his family in a grease truck in the middle of the night. That's Mark Sanchez, upgraded to felony charges, as now we're starting to see videos come out. Come on now. Be better than that. My goodness, Mark.
All right, here's the saving grace. If you had Kansas City minus 3.5 last night, I want you to remember this morning, at least you're not Mark Sanchez.
Aye.
Perspective, my friend. Perspective.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of perspective there. You know what else has perspective? Be a good hockey player, get paid a lot of money. Connor McDavid signs an extension with the Oilers.
Of course he did. What are you going to do? Let him walk? Like, of course.
Let him walk.
Yeah, right. Okay, done. Edmonton. Way to go. Congrats, Edmonton, for, signing the greatest hockey player of a generation there to an extension. My goodness. You're still not going to win anything because the Panthers are in the league, but enjoy it.
Tough decision. They probably fought over and wrestled over and lost sleep over. Do we sign him or not sign him and let him walk? He's signed. How about Ja Morant? Ankle injury here as we approach the NBA season. Not a great sign for the superstar down in Memphis.
No, but doesn't it always seem we're not even in the season, and it's always something with Ja Morant. I just for a guy that is so talented, it's never really about the basketball with him. It's unfortunate.
And it's unfortunate that Kyle Schwarber is hitting 0.00 for the season, for the series, and Bryce Harper's at a 143. They lost again to the Dodgers 4-3. Two things happened, Joe. One team hits with 2 outs, the other one doesn't. Philadelphia Phillies down 0-2 heading to L.A. It's a wrap on my Phillies season. How do you feel about that?
0.0. Oh, yeah, that's not good, Donnie. Even I know that's not good.
55 home runs in the regular season plus. Yeah, good luck, Kyle Schwarber. Thanks a lot for your time. Red Line coming up next on the Early Line.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Well, Shadur, which quarterbacks are you talking about? Because there is some bad quarterback play out there, but the dude who can't beat Dylan Gabriel out for a job and can't beat Joe Flacco out for a job certainly can't lay claim to being better than any other quarterback in the league.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on Sports Grid.
Major League Baseball has decided it is time to put balls and strikes not just in the hands of the umpires, but also the robot umpires, as they say. The ABS system is now officially in place starting next season. Now, keep in mind, they're not just throwing this out there. They have used this at the Arizona Fall League, and they've also used it at different levels of the minor leagues as well.
Newswire. Only on Sports Grid.
That's a lot for a closer. 10. You're not a closer anymore if you blow 10 games. I mean, my goodness. That's
he's mentally broken too. Like, it's to the point where like Dodger fans aren't even mad at him; they're more mad at the Dodgers for putting him out there.
Putting him in.
Right? It's more so. Right. Yeah, it's like, guys, like, he's done.
In-game live, only on Sports Grid.
It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. Sports Grid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on Sports Grid.
It's a Tuesday on the Sports Grid Network. This is the Early Line. I'm Donnie Rightside along with Joe Ranieri, and it's time for a little spread line action here. But before we get to those spread lines, Joe, I'm a Philadelphia fan. Saturday, 3-0 lead, loss for the Phillies. The Dodgers came back. Sunday, 17-3 lead for the Eagles over the Broncos. Ref stole that game from us because they think it's funny to laugh at us. Then Monday, the Philadelphia Phillies go down 4-0, only to see a major comeback in the ninth inning. Fall short here. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, doom and gloom where it's always supposed to be sunny in Philadelphia. So now, got that out of the way. Just wanted to clear my mind so I have a clear conscience moving forward. And it's time for those spread lines, Joe, which deals with this one here. Wake Forest and Oregon State. Opening line look ahead about 6.5. That line has dropped, Joe, to 2.5 across the board and a total of 51.5. I didn't even know Oregon State still had a football team, but apparently that spread is off here. What is the spread line in this game for the Demon Deeks?
Well, we're going to do that, Dan, but I also got to know what the Philly stance is on Penn State, but that's a different conversation here. Let me just say this. This here, and, you know, this is one of those games where, Donnie, you go, Wake Forest, Oregon State, right? But you just mentioned it. The opening line compared to where we are, and we're 2 days into the week, should tell you everything you need to know about what's happening with these two programs. They are heading in opposite directions. Now, Oregon State is awful. They have not won a game yet this year. Wake Forest, however, new coach, new era, and yes, they are a legit team in the ACC. Terrible spot for Oregon State. Why? Well, they just had to travel across the country to play in Boone to take on App State, in which they lost, only to hop on a plane, have to come back home, and now take on Wake Forest, whose new coach, by the way, Coach Dickert, very familiar with Oregon State. And why? Well, he was the Wazoo coach over the last few seasons and had no problem beating Oregon State there. He'll have no problem beating Oregon State here either.
Oregon State left that like that. Like, nobody wanted us here. Everybody left the Pac-12 and left us with the bag, and you're seeing the fruits of their non-labor right now, getting hammered week in and week out. How about Kent State? Last week, Joe, we talked about a team total of 3.5, which didn't get home because why? Kent State didn't score a single point against Oklahoma. This week, UMass comes to town, and Kent State is a favorite between 2.5 to 3, depending on where you're shopping, in a total of 49.5. UMass, Kent State. What's the spread line here, Joe?
I hope the guys in the back have the Cam Ward drop ready to go, because I'm not yet. That's it. Yeah, but this game is about as possible. This game has got cheeks written all over it, Donnie, but it needs to be talked about because of what you just said, right? We were betting Kent State all day last week going, you got to score at least a field goal. No, they didn't. But you may be the only team worse in this country right now is UMass. So how bad is UMass? Well, they're an underdog to a Kent State team that hasn't beaten an FBS team since November of 2022. They have not even been favored over anybody since the 2022 season. Absolutely, unbelievably bad. If you want to set football back 100 years, watch this game, UMass at Kent State. This is how this total is 49.5 is hilarious to me, Donnie, because the first one to score is going to win this game. That is how bad it is. But it absolutely is worth mentioning because Kent State is in rare territory here as a favorite over anybody.
It's like a Super Bowl between these two teams coming up. I'm betting a lot of small-time college football over the years. UMass won a national championship in the 1990s in Division I AA, but since they've been in the Division I team, it's been a rough go, man. And they're usually a fun bet because they usually give up a ton of points or have the chance to score a lot of points back when Mark Whipple was coaching them. One to keep an eye on, no doubt about it. How about the Red River rivalry, which is Oklahoma and Texas? Always played at a neutral site at the Cotton Bowl. Texas, fresh off of a loss to Florida. They're a favorite in this game, though. -2.5 and another low total of 42.5. You would have told me Oklahoma, Texas is 42.5 as a total entering in the season. I thought you would have been crazy, but we're not, Joe. What's the spread line here?
Well, the spread line here is this is all about, and this line will move based upon the information we get on John Mateer's status and availability for OU. Brent Venable says that he doesn't think he'll have the quarterback ready to go, his Heisman hopeful QB, but, you know, in this rivalry in Venables, he might pull the rug out from under all of us, Donnie, and announce a couple hours before, hey, he is good to go. So make sure, he had the thumb surgery, by the way, on the throwing hand. And so back-to-back buys, they should, they had a bye because they played Kent State. So that's what I mean by back-to-back buys. But make sure you know the status of John Mateer here. If you think he's going to play, even a hint of him playing, and keep it here because as soon as we have the information, we'll pass it along. This line will move, Donnie. I can assure you of that. So be sure you know who's under center for OU before you bet this game.
Same thing with the NFL. Be sure you know who's under center. Looks like it's going to be Dylan Gabriel of the Cleveland Browns. I want to say Guardians at that point here. The Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers, a 4.5 to 5.5 point favorite, depending where he's shopping at. Pittsburgh off a bye. Cleveland fresh off coming off a loss overseas. The total listed at 38.5. The Steelers think they're the kings now of the AFC North. What's the spread line here, Joe?
Well, the NFL schedule has wrapped up a absolute gift for the Steelers here, right? They played in Ireland in week 4. They had a bye last week while the Browns were playing the Vikings in London. Now the Browns have to go on the road against a division rival, not to mention that they're going to have a rookie quarterback in his first true road start here. This is going to be all Pittsburgh here. It would not shock me if this number gets a little out of control by the time we get to Sunday.
Let's talk about this next game quickly here on this spread line. The Chargers and the Dolphins. The Chargers are on the road, and they're favored by 4.5 and a total 43.5. Who's left to play for the Chargers? Just shows you how bad the Dolphins are. What's that quick spread line, Joe?
Well, the bottom line is the Dolphins' defense is bottom 3 in just about every statistical category. So it doesn't make a difference who is playing offensive line. They're not going to get to Justin Herbert, who still has Keenan Allen, Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnson. They should have no problem carving up Miami here.
Air raid down in South Beach. We'll see how that one turns out. Let's get back to Jacksonville last night. The Chargers? Yeah, no. We want to talk Chiefs, baby. Chiefs, Chiefs, Chiefs.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circa Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on Sports Grid.
I'm done with the Buffalo Bills, and I'm not upset about it because they look vulnerable. I cannot believe this team is 4-0 because they could easily be 1-3. They go on their heels, and I can't believe they have not 1 but 2 double-digit victories in games they could have very well lost.
In-game live, only on Sports Grid.
Mike Trout, will he ask for a trade? And maybe I'm a bit of a Neanderthal for asking this, and people are going to say, listen, he's never leaving. I refuse to accept that we're just not going to get Mike Trout postseason baseball ever again. Because clearly when healthy, he can still do it. But he's also rarely healthy and still kind of expensive. It's complicated.
Game time decisions. Only on Sports Grid.
Course setup, Bethpage, and how soft the greens were, how long it played. It definitely was an advantage for Europe from my mind, and they putted better.
Well, but do you think in a weird way that same setup is what allows the Americans to get back in it today? Because you do see a lot of those big putts made.
Yeah.
The Smiley Show, only on Sports Grid.
Monday Night Football, you were treated to a gem. Well, if you like the over, you thought that was fantastic. 31-28 final. If you had the Jaguars getting 3.5, maybe you got a little bit lucky, but you still got the win and the cover. If you have them on the money line, certainly congratulations to that. But understand this. We're not taught that Kansas City gets up with a 14-0 lead and can't hold the door. Steve Spagnuolo's defense is built on that. We'll get up, we'll rush the passer, I'll give you exotic blitzes. You won't be able to come back. But sometimes you do need a little bit of help. And I'm not talking referees. I'm talking from one of the best players to ever play the game in Patrick Mahomes. On the goal line, throws an interception. And this wasn't one of those where we take a look at, Joe. It's like, give me a fade route to the back of the end zone. Damn, a great play by the DB on a tip ball. What an interception. This was, I didn't see a linebacker standing right there, and I basically threw the football to him, and credit that linebacker who went to the house and also juked 4 or 5 guys on his way to almost a 100-yard interception return. The Chiefs had this football game. They let it slip away, and maybe letting their playoff or maybe championship hopes slip away as well. Joe, am I going too far right now?
Well, no, because everybody else in that division has come back to the Chiefs. So they'll be just fine. And listen, the big question always, not a shock for such a veteran team, veteran coaches. We know one thing, right? The Chiefs defensively always start off slow in the season, and eventually they figure it out. By the time we get to late October, November, Spags has got everybody in the right spots, got his combinations, it all works out. The big question from the start has always been the offense of Kansas City here. And even though we had some questions on whether Worthy was going to play because he popped up on the injury report on Sunday, well, he played. And quite honestly, everybody on the offense played. To think that the Chiefs offense is somehow not what it used to be at this point would be a farce, Donnie. What I saw last night was vintage Mahomes and the Chiefs. They just shot themselves in the foot too many times to get the win on the road.
And by the way, Trevor Lawrence only threw 25 times because that's when you don't have a lot of possessions due to those pick sixes here. 18 of 25 for 221. Did throw an interception, but also a touchdown, but did run in 2 touchdowns yesterday. And by the way, as you see the quarterback comparison, the yards passing 221 to 318, not really the statistic I wanted to look at. It's the rushing yards. What is this? Mahomes, 6 for 60 and a touchdown. Trevor Lawrence, 10 for 54 and 2 scores here. These 2 quarterbacks getting it done on the ground. And always, Pat, we don't look at Patrick Mahomes as a runner here, but every time we look at some of his running statistics, looks like he turns into Michael Vick in some of these games. It just wasn't enough. But the one thing I do like about Kansas City, Xavier Worthy wasn't 100%. Sooner than later, Rashee Rice is coming back. And now if you add in Tyquan Thornton, who is a legitimate deep threat, Joe, this is why we can't give up on the Kansas City Chiefs. And you're right. There's no team in the division 5-0 running away from the Chiefs saying, we're going to block you from this. It's the Raiders. They stink. It's the Denver Broncos. They're okay. It's the Chargers. They get more injured every single week. Now, granted, when you do have a first-place schedule, as winning the division last year and also getting to the Super Bowl, things are much tougher. And they do play, talking about the Chiefs, the Detroit Lions on Sunday Night Football. But just looking at this game, it's hard to quit this football team knowing how much talent they have. The only question marks for me is on that Spags defense. They usually rise to the occasion, Joe. They didn't last night.
Well, but the problem was they were also put behind the 8 ball a lot because the special teams was just awful for Kansas City, shooting themselves in the foot. They had multiple long kick returns that were called back for holding. They were put in an impossible position there on the last drive because Butker, of all people, kicks the ball out of bounds and gives them all of a sudden a short field to work with 1 minute and 3 timeouts still to go. So, yeah, I mean, everything they did last night was not complimentary football. And unfortunately, it looks like the defense didn't do its job, but Travis Etienne was supposed to be the leading rusher. Instead, it was Trevor Lawrence. Why? Because he was under duress and nobody was open the whole rest of the night.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an interesting thing the way it played out, and also that fluke last play, which, again, give Trevor Lawrence credit, never gave up on the play. But when you fall down in the pocket, you're supposed to get sacked. You're not supposed to get back up, fall back down, get back up, and then score a touchdown, which is incredible. I would have loved to see how helter-skelter that would have been if they did get the sack at that point. And I bet Kansas City probably ends up with a win in that game because you're not going to see the touchdown here. How about Travis Hunter? We've been waiting on something offensively. He gave that to you last night also. 39 offensive snaps, 25 defensive snaps. The young kid, the high draft pick here, finally had a big impact here in a win for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Well, and that's the balance they need to figure it out, right? That's what they need to figure out, Donnie. It is how to best utilize him in game scenarios in which he gives you an edge, both defensively and offensively. It looks like they figured some things out finally here against the Chiefs. We'll see what they do next week.
No, certainly. And next week here, as I take a look, Jacksonville Jaguars there going up against the Seattle Seahawks. And then you have Detroit and Kansas City. The road gets tougher out there in the NFL. The road is really tough for the Phillies in Major League Baseball. We'll talk about that next.
football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circa Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on Sports Grid.
I'm done with the Buffalo Bills, and I'm not upset about it because they look vulnerable. I cannot believe this team is 4-0 because they could easily be 1-3. They were on their heels, and I can't believe they have not one but 2 double-digit victories in games they could have very well lost.
In-game live, only on Sports Grid.
Mike Trout, will he ask for a trade? And maybe I'm a bit of a Neanderthal for asking this, and people are going to say, listen, he's never leaving. I refuse to accept that we're just not going to get Mike Trout postseason baseball ever again. Because clearly when healthy, he can still do it. But he's also rarely healthy and still kind of expensive. It's complicated.
Game time decisions. Only on Sports Grid.
The course setup, Bethpage, and how soft the greens were, how long it played. It definitely was an advantage for Europe from my mind, and they putted better.
Well, but do you think, in a weird way, that same setup is what allows the Americans to get back in it today? Because you do see a lot of those big putts made.
Yeah.
The Smiley Show, only on Sports Grid.
Those Los Angeles Dodgers head to the friendly confines there at Citizens Bank Park and walk away with another victory, taking a 2-0 series lead over the Philadelphia Phillies before they even head back to Los Angeles. And I want to start here with this ball game, Joe. Forget about game 1, game number 2. The Dodgers priced so high coming into the playoffs, not because of what you think the Dodgers are on the field. They're 93 wins, the Phillies have 96, and the Dodgers are the away team. It was the fact of the matter is the playoffs are a different animal than the regular season. The reason I bring that up is you start to extrapolate and say, well, once you get to the playoffs, how is this going to look? Oh, look, Shohei Ohtani, perfectly informed now. He's a starting pitcher. He can go 5 to 6 innings pitched. He could be dominant. Checkmate, he was. Wait a second. You got Blake Snell laying in the weight here. Cy Young award-winning style pitcher. Oh, he's going to go number 2. And then you have a multitude of superstar pitchers that you can throw behind him here. The bullpen be damned, I understand it. But this is why the Dodgers were that unbelievable 1-9 lineup with superstar power and then the starting pitching to match if it worked out in their favor, Joe, and it has. And it turned out yesterday, Snell comes into Philadelphia. 6 innings pitched, 1 hit, no earned runs, 9 Ks. He was filthy last night. There were opportunities for the Phillies to score off him, but the Phillies don't hit good left-handed pitching. That's apparent. Matter of fact, the Phillies don't hit good pitching at all, no matter what hand they are. The Dodgers come away with a 4-3 victory over the Phillies. Forget the damn comeback late for the Phillies. I don't care. You got to score early when you have the chance. They couldn't do it once again because that's what this lineup is.
It's kind of amazing when you consider it here, Donnie, because, I mean, we all know those big 3, right? 1 for 11, 6 Ks in game 1. Then they go 1 for 10 with 5 Ks yesterday. So collectively, 2 for 21 with 11 strikeouts and no extra base hits. To me, if I'm being glass half full here, how in the hell have the Phillies lost these games by a collective 3 runs is beyond me, Donnie, with those guys and those kinds of numbers. It's not like they didn't have still opportunities to overcome those guys not stepping up and had opportunities to win the game. So they're not that far off, 1 game at a time. But the problem is now, and it was always the problem, and I had said it, not having Wheeler to be able to be a stopgap somewhere in there to go toe-to-toe with these starters of the Dodgers is rough. And, they got to play from in front, Donnie. I think if they can play from in front next game, they got a good shot of at least getting 1 in.
They have to. They played from in front of game number 1, 3-0, and still got beaten. The question is, yes, I would love the Phillies to have Zach Wheeler here. The pitching isn't the problem. Luzardo was very good. Same thing with Christopher Sanchez. That should be 2. They should be 2 wins for them, and it turns into 2 losses. Case in point, you say this every single time. You do need heroes to step up at the right times. I understand it. But you are not going to win. The payroll that is spent on Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, and Bryce Harper. 143, 0, and 143 are the batting averages through 2 games with multiple opportunities. Last night, Bryce Harper, early in that game against Snell, first and second base, no score, 1 out, strikeout, of course, because that's what Bryce Harper does. They said, Donnie, look at all the years that he had some playoff success. I get it. But when you come up to the plate, it's you look at Freddie Freeman, who, again, it's not crushing the baseball in the playoffs, hitting 267. But I'd rather have Freddie Freeman up at the plate as left-handed batter than Bryce Harper, and Bryce Harper makes over $300 million on a contract. Kyle Schwarber, of all people, crushing baseballs all season long. I could pitch to him right now and strike him out on 3 pitches. Trey Turner came up in the bottom of the 9th inning with runners on. I need a base hit. Grounds out the second base. And by the way, great pick by Freddie Freeman to end that game because I have no idea. I think it was Tommy Edman was spiking that ball into the ground. Alec Boehm, 167 in the playoffs. You can't have your top 4 batters continuously not provide insurance and get base hits or at least productive outs. It's been that way for the Phillies for 2 years now. Remember those guys? Oh, yeah. Big hits against San Diego getting to the World Series. It's been dreadful the past 3 playoff appearances now for the Philadelphia Phillies going ice cold at the plate at the wrong time. They're not coming back against the Dodgers. Their last stand was last night, and it was like Custer's last stand. They got massacred again, Joe.
Yeah, they did. And it's kind of crazy, Donnie, because, back in middle of September, we watched Luzardo versus Snell, and it kind of unfolded the same way. Both guys were phenomenal through 6-7 innings. Snell, unfortunately, got the better of that lineup for whatever reason. And it's not like they can't hit lefties, Donnie. I mean, they were really good against lefties here. It was just the Dodgers got the big hit when they needed it, and the Phillies are still waiting for that big hit right now.
Yeah, remember on the regular season, tomato cans on the mound? Hey, man, that's a great Schwarber. 1-0 lead for the Phillies. Yeah, where is that? He strikes out every time he gets up. And the best part about this is he's a free agent at the end of the season once the playoffs wrapped up. And probably Scott Boras going, $400 million contract out here. Love the regular season home runs. Schwarber's a great guy. I understand it. But when you need him to hit, it seems like when he gets up, it's an automatic out at this point. The same thing with Bryce Harper. That can't happen. I'll tell you, it's not an automatic out. That's the Milwaukee Brewers. They can hit. And I came on yesterday. My favorite bet was over 7.5, 8 runs, depending where you're shopping, for the Brewers and the Cubs game. 7-3. I thought Milwaukee would be able to tack on early. They did. Matter of fact, Joe, they got their 7 runs before we even got out of the 4th inning. And how about the Cubs? Here's what's devastating. The Cubs take a 3-0 lead in this game right off the bat. And they don't score again for the next 8 innings and only have 4 hits combined. What happened to the Cubs offense? Ouch.
Well, it's not even the Cubs offense. I don't know what the pitching decisions here for the Cubs has been just kind of head scratching. Javier Assad was left off the roster. You got Boyd starting on short rest in game 1. Imanaga has allowed 20 home runs in 13 second half starts, and you give him the ball in game 2. And you're going up against a Milwaukee team that loves to jump out in front and make you pay. And that's exactly what we're doing. Talking about playing from in front, you thought the Cubs with a quick 3-0 lead against a bullpen game of Milwaukee, that they would have been. No, they were not, because Imanaga, again, when you give up 20 jacks in 13 second half starts, you might have a problem. I guess Milwaukee doesn't hit home runs. Well, that's a farce, because they had 2 3-run bombs in that game yesterday. And then you got Mizorowski coming in throwing 104 miles an hour. It was over before it started again for the Cubs.
Just crazy. You get you're down in the series, you get that 3-0 lead. Thank goodness here we're going to be able to hold this one off. And just that avalanche comes where how demoralizing must it be? Even though it's 3-3, Joe, at the end of the first, you're like, I get it's tied, but man, it wasn't 0-0. We had a 3-run lead here, and it's already gone before you can blink an eye. They just were never able to surrender it the rest of the way. Ashby comes in as the opener. Congratulations. An inning and 2/3, 3 earned runs there. That was fantastic. Imanago has been struggling. 2 2/3 innings, 4 earned runs here, and then Palencia gives up 3 earned runs over 1 inning of work. It just wasn't the Cubs. And granted, When I look at the Dodgers-Phillies series, I thought they were pretty evenly matched, and I gave a slight favorite to the Philadelphia Phillies. They lost both of those games, but we both were in agreement. Like, Milwaukee is a really good team. They don't have the superstar talent like top end. Like, yes, Yelich is a very good player, but they just fit together, Joe, don't they? Like, clutch base hits, they get it. Jackson Chourio is playing with one leg here. Dude's going 3 RBI again, 2 for 4 as a leadoff spot. Amazing stuff.
What the real amazing thing is too is they never get too high, they never get too low, but they also, Donnie, they do all the fundamentals well. They take extra bases. They don't beat themselves, right? They're one of the best defensive teams in all of Major League Baseball. They are willing to push guys over, get them into scoring position, get the hit. You know, now you tack in the fact that they got a couple of guys that can absolutely hit for power, and what are you going to, you're done. Like, and they don't even have their full complement of starters because Woodruff wasn't able to go here on this, but it's not going to, they beat the Cubs with a bullpen game in one of the most important games of the season. Unbelievable.
Take a look at some of the new odds market here. And again, you'll see some of these statistics to win the National League. At +170, they're the Dodgers, the Brewers, +190. Here they come, people. But by the way, to win the series itself, Milwaukee Brewers, -750 over the Chicago Cubs, who are +530. And the Philadelphia Phillies, +860. The Dodgers, a -1,300 price right now. Seems to me. Both teams are up 2-0. And granted, probably the best two teams in Major League Baseball to me, the Dodgers and the Brewers right now. Those looks like they're going to collide in the NLCS, and we'll see it play out. George Kurtz coming up next. Hockey? When did that happen? It's happening tonight, people.
If you're O'Connell, you have a serious decision to make. Like, what is, again, he's been hurt now in back-to-back years, McCarthy.
Yeah.
You don't know what you have.
100%.
This is a similar situation to what the Niners did with Trey Lance. Like, if the guy can't stay on the field, and again, limited, you have to do what's best for the organization.
Pro Football Today, only on Sports Grid.
Florida State put up 498 rushing yards on this defense, 8 rushing touchdowns, and they almost averaged 10 yards per carry.
Tough scene.
I mean, you got to be kidding me. It should be 60-7.
Yeah. Give me the 7.
I just gave you the 7.
Exactly. And
are you
the
on this?
Point. I'm thinking field goal and maybe a
but
safety.
But are you on
Joe.
this? This
Over
is your best
3.5.
Okay.
Didn't you read the screen? What, are you not paying attention to the show?
Sports Grid's College Football Today.
I can tell you right now, Jamar Chase is getting moved on a lot of teams. And I understand why. I mean, you don't have Joe Burrow coming back this year. It's just not happening. And then Jake Browning has been less than impressive. There's no doubt about that. So Jamar Chase is still an extraordinary talent, and I think buying him low is interesting. Why? Because if you do look, the schedule does get a little bit easier. The defense is still bad. Jake Browning has been productive.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on Sports Grid.
The Americans got to find answers in these partnerships, and I think they need to look at their who's making these decisions from a stat standpoint.
Well, it's so funny to me, especially coming off of the Walker Cup just a few weeks before, how it just seems like there's this glaring chasm between American partnered match play and American individual, singles match play.
The Smiley Show, only on Sports Grid.
Oh, yeah, people. Hockey. Let's do that hockey. We're going to get to that in just a few moments here, but the energy is high. It is a Tuesday here. We're morning here in the city of Philadelphia, but I am Donnie Rightside, and I make sure I don't bring my bias into the equation, at least most of the time here, along with Joe Ranier. We welcome in George Kurtz. And, George, before we get to hockey, hey, man, Yanks ain't looking good. My Phillies aren't looking good. Can we have a pity party this morning? I mean, what gives?
Listen, you want to talk about cities that aren't doing too well here. You mentioned the Yankees on the brink here. Jets, forget about it. 0-5. Giants, you lose to a winless New Orleans team. Things ain't any better here in the Big Apple. I said, I think sports fans are maybe praying for the New York Rangers, who are certainly better than the New York Islanders.
Let's go, Rangers. Well, they're going to play tonight as well. 3 games tonight, George. So let's talk some of this hockey. Watching through the preseason, heading into the openers tonight, your feel for the NHL season is what for right now, George? How are we feeling about it?
It's a little weird, right? Because we're knee deep into football, right? It's week 6 of the NFL. Weird things are happening. Kansas City and Baltimore have losing records here. We didn't see this happening. We're in the baseball playoffs. You mentioned Philadelphia. Dodgers look unbeatable. No one's going to stop them. Yankees on the brink of elimination. So it is weird that the NHL starts tonight. Especially it's a 5 p.m. Eastern start. Right? Okay, that's a little strange here to get used to. But, in a month from now, it'll be, normal every other day. Hey, the NHL, here we go.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's start with, I don't know if you know this. Yeah, but the cup is in, I believe, Florida. And they are on the ice here tonight as a ridiculous favorite. Are the Blackhawks, I mean, with all these first-round picks and everything else that they have been terrible for how long now? Are they ever putting it together? I mean, that's a legendary hockey town, and they remain awful. What is going on there?
Yeah, I guess we're going to start negative here. We'll start with the Blackhawks. It's not happening yet, right? You got Connor Bedard, right? You got the pick from a couple of years ago. He was supposed to be the next. I mean, I'm not going to say McDavid, right? No one's McDavid. That's a godly talent here. But he was supposed to be, okay, superstar. Here we go. And it just hasn't happened yet. Whether it's because they haven't fulfilled, needs around him, But outside of Bedard, you're an average hockey fan. Name me another Blackhawk. Name me one. Right? You traded Seth Jones last year to your Florida Panthers. Your goaltending, Spencer Knight, is an average goalie. Nothing special there. Actually, probably below average. And so for the Florida Panthers, it's like homecoming. You couldn't have scheduled a better game here. All right? You're playing the Chicago Blackhawks at home, raising the banner. You got your rings the other night. So everything's going right for the Panthers, with the exception of, we can't forget, they're missing 2 key players here. Barkov, ACL and MCL surgery. He's gone 7 to 9 months. Maybe you see him at some point during the playoffs, and that's probably a huge maybe in capitalized letters. And, of course, Matthew Tkachuk. He won't be available till probably maybe Christmas, somewhere around there, as he's out there. Barkov's probably the best player in the NHL that nobody talks about. And Matthew Tkachuk is a top 10 player, especially if you want someone who's an agitator along with skill there. So those are 2 big losses. And they still won't matter tonight for the Panthers. Panthers will win this.
Incredible stuff, too. And by the way, NHL, follow along suit like what the NBA does typically on their opening nights, and also the NFL. Give us a game where the champions actually going to have to fight back in a game opening night. -285s to -300s, depending on where you're shopping at, as a favorite for the Florida Panthers here. But the New York Rangers are in play tonight, George, taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins. -220 at most outlets here. A monster favorite in the Garden for the Rangers today. What do we see in this game?
Yeah, I think we need to remember the Pittsburgh Penguins. Okay, yeah, you got Crosby, one of the best players of all time. Malkin is still there, Chris Letang, and that's it. All right, they literally, I mean, after that cupboard gets bare real quick here. These are not the Penguins of old, all right? This might be the worst team in the Eastern Conference, to let you know, all right? They're not a good team. Rangers looking to rebound off of a subpar, where we thought they would do some damage last year. It didn't happen. Whether it was, locker room turmoil, they didn't like the coach, Zibanejad, Panarin, whatever. It didn't work out. They sent away some players. Chris Kreider, now on Anaheim, they're looking to rebuild. If everything goes right for the Rangers, this could be a good team. Not a great team, but a good team. You have the goaltending at Shesterkin. Defense is a little shaky, but you pick up JT Miller, who Vancouver couldn't wait to get rid of. Once again, more locker room issues there. And he's now the captain for the Rangers. Wow. But he's still a very good player here. Obviously I like the Rangers tonight. Listen, Penguins are not a good team. I think the Rangers will take care of business. I am curious to see, will the Rangers be that team? Can they compete with the Hurricanes? Can they compete with the Devils if they can stay healthy? Listen, I'm not going to compare it to the teams in the in the Atlantic. I'm not comparing to Florida or Tampa or Toronto. Those teams may be in another league here. But I think the Rangers are ready to take that next step.
So, the Kings, what are the chances that they can win enough games to avoid playing Edmonton in the first round, George? What do you think? Because I believe it's 4 straight years now that they haven't been able to get past Edmonton. But, I mean, listen, they've tweaked the roster here a little bit. It feels like a lot of the Colorado games are still going to be looking at the over. What do we get here tonight with the Kings and the Avs?
The problem in the Western Conference is, let's just say for giggles, they don't play Edmonton in the first round. Well, you might get Colorado. You might get Vegas. You might get Dallas.
Yeah.
I mean, the Western Conference is loaded. All right. But yeah, I'm sure the Kings like anybody but McDavid and Draisaitl. Please, for the love of God. Those three teams I just mentioned, by the way, those are the cream of the crop, right? Three great teams there. The Kings are always in that next level down, right? Good team, good solid team, no obvious weaknesses, but not great in any one area either, right? You don't have Jonathan Quick in net. You haven't had him for years, so you don't have that ace goaltender, but you're good in net. Drew Dougherty's getting older on defense. Good, solid D, but not that lockdown D. And, your offense, Kopitar, he's getting up there in age. He's not the Hall of Famer he used to be. You don't really have anybody. You don't have that star player. There's no McKinnon. There's no McDavid. There's no Austin Matthews for the Kings. But they're a good, solid group that rolls right the line after you. So they need to play lower scoring games. They do not want to get into a shootout with Colorado. And that's sort of what Colorado wants to do, right? Blackwood probably not playing in net tonight for Colorado. I kind of do like the Kings tonight in a lower scoring game, 3-2. Not that I'm betting the under, but that's probably where I'm leaning towards this game. Maybe a little slower start for the Colorado Avalanche, another team that disappointed last year.
George, quickly, Major League Baseball. You don't want to get into a shootout with the Toronto Blue Jays right now. What gives tonight for your New York Yankees?
Oh, relying on Rodon again. He did the same thing last week. Gave 3 runs to Boston in that elimination game. Bieber's not the Bieber of old. I'm a Yankee fan. The Yankees get it done tonight. They'll go to Game 4. If they get the Game 4, by the way, tomorrow's likely a bullpen game for Toronto, and they have no bullpen. Get the Game 4.
Could the Bronx be burning? Find out tonight. He's George Kurtz. We love him here on the Sports Grid Network. George, thanks for rising and grinding with us today on the Early Line.
If you're O'Connell, you have a serious decision to make. Like, what is, again, he's been hurt now in back-to-back years, McCarthy.
Yeah.
You don't know what you have.
100%.
This is a similar situation to what the Niners did with Trey Lance. Like, if the guy can't stay on the field, and again, limited, you have to do what's best for the organization.
Pro Football Today, only on Sports Grid.
Florida State put up 498 rushing yards on this defense, 8 rushing touchdowns, and they almost averaged 10 yards per carry.
Tough scene.
I mean, you got to be kidding me. It should be 60-7.
Yeah. Give me the 7.
I just gave you the 7.
Exactly. And
Are
missed
you
the
on
extra
this?
point. I'm thinking field goal and maybe a
But are
safety.
you on
Joe.
this? This is
Over
your best
3.5.
bet? Okay.
Didn't you read the screen?
I
What, are you not
could
paying
barely
attention
read
to the show?
Sports Grid's College Football Today.
I can tell you right now, Jamar Chase is getting moved on a lot of teams. And I understand why. I mean, you don't have Joe Burrow coming back this year. It's just not happening. And then Jake Browning has been less than impressive. There's no doubt about that. So Jamar Chase is still an extraordinary talent, and I think buying him low is interesting. Why? Because if you do look, the schedule does get a little bit easier. The defense is still bad. Jake Browning has been productive.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on Sports Grid.
The Americans got to find answers in these partnerships, and I think they need to look at their who's making these decisions from a stat standpoint.
Well, it's so funny to me, especially coming off of the Walker Cup just a few weeks before, how it just seems like there's this glaring chasm between American partnered match play and American individual, singles match play.
The Smiley Show, only on Sports Grid.
News and notes in the NFL, because why? The NFL never stops here. And by the way, sometimes we could take a look and we get angry at the way we place a wager. I didn't lose any money on the Arizona Cardinals game, but I'm sure a lot of people who had a lot of money in competitions and survivor pools said, how did I lose that game? You didn't even need them to cover the spread and they lost. Sometimes you want to take your frustration out on a certain player here. Well, how about this video we have coming up here, Joe? Basically taking a look at Jonathan Gannon saying, I apologize, but should he have?
I did tell him, Bob, everybody in there, from the staff to the coaches to the players to everybody in there, the clock is ticking. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a number 1 overall pick, a Pro Bowl safety, a third-year head coach, a first-year assistant, it doesn't matter. Like, we have to do a better job to close out games.
Joe, if you didn't see the video that they're referring to why he apologized to DeMercado, is because DeMercado had a long touchdown run, dropped the football. Maybe it would have been forgotten a little bit more if they had won that football game, but they didn't. But Jonathan Gannon on the sideline basically threw a gut punch at DeMercado. He was so upset, and I can just feel like the angst of everybody who bet that game probably filtered that energy right into Jonathan Gannon at that moment, said, punch the guy, and he did.
Well, it's so funny because in that video, right, the poor offensive lineman knew it was coming. Like, he's standing next to him, like, trying to be like, listen, dude, you're about to get run over here, but it's going to be okay. No, it's not okay. And you know what it is? It's a direct reflection, and it starts at the top. Would that have ever happened on a Bill Belichick or Parcells-led team? Like, no, it starts at the top because you know those things are unacceptable. Dropping the football without crossing the goal line there's just nothing less excuse. There is nothing you can come up with that excuses that in that moment in any game in the NFL. So as far as I'm concerned, yes, personal responsibility. But the only reason that happened, Donnie, to me, I think it starts at the top. It's an organizational issue.
Like, he busts that long run, slows down at the 10, like he could care less about the guy chasing him down, then drops the football. Like, that's hard to do. Like, I'm not saying you have to run into the end zone and do like a Barry Sanders, hand the ball to the referee in the back of the end zone, but it's pretty simple to be like, yeah, I'm halfway through the end zone. I can drop the football now or spike it at this point. I just never understand the concept of let me drop the football. Why you're even dropping the football anyway at that time? Ended up costing them the game, but so many other things had to go right for the Titans, which actually did go right, and they did it. I'll tell you what didn't go right. The Patriots did get a victory over the Buffalo Bills, which was fantastic, but did lose running back Gibson for the season. Antonio Gibson, talented guy. He's down for the year, so now it's going to put a little bit more emphasis on, hey, Ramondre Stevenson, don't fumble the football, man. We need you.
Yeah, it's amazing. He's another one that just can't. And Vrabel is another one of those guys that you're going to have a hard time relating to that. But now he might not have a choice because it's unfortunate for Gibson. I thought it was a great pickup. I thought the minute the Jets cut him and Vrabel's like, yeah, we got no problem. We'll take him. I was like, all right, this could work out for everybody. But unfortunately, injuries, just timing of everything, Donnie. Next time a guy wants a contract and is willing to hold, remember situations like this. Get paid when you can get paid, period.
Absolutely. And by the way, getting paid, look at the New England Patriots' upcoming schedule at the Saints, at the Titans, home to the Browns. Could we see the New England Patriots gain those tailwinds that you need to possibly challenge the Bills for this division?
Well, they're still a young team. So the problem is, those games might be easy to lose for them because they can be like, oh, look at us. We're riding high. This is where coaching and Vrabel is going to have to do a hell of a job, Donnie, to make sure that they stay pumped because this week against this has got letdown written all over it for a young team.
The videos are out, Joe, and I don't mean highlight videos. Mark Sanchez stumbling around the streets of Indianapolis with a couple of stab wounds here. It turns out he could be looking at a sentence between 1 to 6 years for felony battery assault. Mind your own business. Do your job, get paid, live your life. He couldn't do that, Joe.
The ambulance chasing attorneys must have been lined up outside the hospital, Donnie, because the amount of lawsuits that are getting filed right now from this from the victim are going to be over the top. It went from bad to absolutely worse for Mark Sanchez here in one weekend.
Just trying to figure out the details of what happened. It's just amazing because each one here is more mind-boggling than the other. Like, I thought at first it was, hey, Sanchez rented a car. This guy just blocked him in and goes, hey, pal, beat it. I'm going to be here a while. And there was a fight. That's clearly not what happened here. And Sanchez looks like, allegedly, he's really in the wrong. We'll find out the details as they continue to come out. More Early Line next.